Welcome to the YouTube Creators Hub podcast, where we help you conquer the internet one video at a time. We cover everything from how to start a YouTube channel to how to make a video go viral. And now, here's your host, the one and only Dusty Porter.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the YouTube Creators Hub podcast, where each and every Friday I release a new interview with a wonderful YouTube creator, and I chat with them about their journey on the platform. And this week is no different, so I cannot wait for you guys to listen to this week's conversation, which was, as always, super informative. But before we do that, I would like to mention our sponsor. The prime sponsor of this show is TubeBuddy. Everyone always asks me, what's the one tool you recommend if you're only going to get one tool to help you, if you're only going to get one paid tool? I always say TubeBuddy. This was well before they started sponsoring this podcast. Just this week, I had some text and a link that I needed to change in over 1,000 videos, and TubeBuddy's bulk edit feature allowed me to do that in literally 30 minutes. That was it. Whereas if I were to have to go and do that in every individual video, it would have just been mind-boggling how much time that would have been. So check them out. You will see a link that says try TubeBuddy for free for 30 days. You get a full month if you use our link. Obviously, it helps me out, so I'm not trying to cover the lead there. And obviously, it's going to help you out as well. So please do that if you haven't already. You can also support us over at patreon.com/DustyPorter. That link will be in the show notes as well. Support us at the analyst tier or higher and get your channel shouted out once a month here on the podcast. Thank you to all of those who have already done that. And for those of you leaving us reviews, I've asked for that the past couple of weeks. I won't do it here again. Just really quickly, if you would, please go over there, leave us a review. It's free and it helps the show grow. And that's what we're all about here. We continue to get new listeners and downloads from places that I never thought would download. The podcasting provider that I use has statistics that I can see, and it's so cool to see the world map and be able to kind of see it in 3D and see all of the dots around the globe of people who have downloaded and how long they're listening to the show. It's just so helpful for me, and it's so motivating for me. So thank you guys for listening to the show. If you're a YouTube creator that's wanting to either start, grow, monetize, do anything in between on your YouTube channel or for YouTube as a business, this is the show for you. There is not a better show on the internet that can basically give you the behind the scenes look. Now, there's other great YouTube shows. My buddy Nick Nimmin has one. Tim Smoyer has one, Roberto Blake does one, all of these great YouTube educators, but I believe we have really carved out our niche on the market of we're bringing on every type of creator to give you a behind-the-scenes look of what it's like and what it takes to succeed at all different levels on the platform. So, with that said, let's jump into this week's conversation. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the YouTube Creators Hub podcast. This obviously is the conversation portion of the show, and I am joined today by Michael Paczynek. Michael is a techie turned real estate agent almost 25 years ago. He owes much of his sales and income to YouTube. Starting in 2007, it was the best thing that he ever did. Now, 1,141 videos later, holy cow, he has a background in marketing, sales, video, and photography. In the end, his hobbies are his business and basically anything related to the YouTube situation. So, Michael, how are you doing today?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic, Dusty. A bit of a cold, but we're gonna persevere and work through this anyway. But I really appreciate you reaching out to me. I listen to all your podcasts, and it's always great information to hear what other people are doing and what they're doing it on, the topics that is.
Well, it's really interesting to me when I did some information and some research on your channel before reaching out to you. I watched a handful of your videos, and I have a bunch of questions kind of jotted down here on the side. But before we dive into those, your YouTube channel, the PEI Real Estate Michael Paczynek YouTube channel, basically you got PEI tips, tricks, and traps. You've got a great-looking channel. Tell the audience kind of the origin story of your YouTube channel, Michael, and kind of what to expect if they were to go to your YouTube channel.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a great question. My background, as you said, is in technology. I love tech. I love video, photography, and real estate. Just worked into all of that. So, of course, back in 2006, everyone was doing the Google AdWords and Google advertising, and YouTube really wasn't a thing until Google bought it. So a friend of mine reached out to me that was in marketing and said, you need to start a YouTube channel. So that's when I started the YouTube channel and found it more than difficult to edit videos. and acquired some equipment, learned a lot of mistakes, and here we are today. Just persevered every week or two putting out the videos.
So you got over 1,100 videos now on the channel. What types of videos do you create? What are the types of videos that we would get if we were to go and peruse your channel?
So essentially, we've obviously got listings, which is what people want to see, new properties for sale, houses, land. I used to do aerial video and photos from a Cessna. Now the drones have made that a lot easier. And then, of course, what I try to do is take emails and questions that I get on the phone that may apply to a broader audience and turn those into a video as well. So I act as a source of information, which I feel is very important, other than just here's what's listed, here's what's sold, which seems to be what everybody else is doing. And I basically stick to that. That's why I say PEI real estate tips, tricks, traps, and new listings before MLS, which is something that, everybody wants that inside information. And so I offer that as well. The one thing I don't do, and I've noticed that other agents are doing this, is just doing very broad scale, non-niche videos. In other words, like a video on tiny homes, because they know they're going to get a couple 100,000 views. But to me, my constant struggle is, what's my focus of the channel, and what's the purpose to it?
I want to ask you this question. There may be other real estate agents listening to this. Over the past 7 to 10 years, my parents, like I told you off air, are both realtors themselves. Video is a very big deal in the space of real estate. And that didn't happen overnight. It kind of progressed to where the drones and it used to be just photographs. Now it's obviously video tours and things like that. What are the benefits that you've seen as a real estate agent from being on YouTube? A friend of mine is also a real estate agent and does YouTube very successfully, and she tells me all kind of stuff, but I'd love to get your point of view on this.
Well, YouTube's pretty well been my number one source of listing and buyer leads, because people will look at a video sooner than they'll read a text or blog or whatever the case may be, which brings me to an interesting point. I mean, keep those videos under 3 minutes for a number of reasons, but the first thing I check, and a lot of people check, is the length of the video. And if it's an hour and 4 minutes, probably not going to get as many views if it's under 3 minutes. But essentially, the YouTube channel for the real estate agent, providing they allow themselves to be on camera, which seems to be everybody's fear, will allow them to connect with the audience, and they look at you almost like a friend, like you would look at a celebrity you've never met.
So you become the famous real estate agent that everyone's like, oh, I've seen you on YouTube. And maybe speak on how this has helped you get clients and clientele and listings and things like that. Is it just the fact that you're on YouTube and so they see your face, they get to know you there, they build a relationship with you through your video content? Speak on that for a minute.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And your statement about becoming known, absolutely. I have people yelling at me in the grocery store, tourists, and people waving at me in the country, and it really gets you above all the noise. And with real estate, depending on the market, you could have thousands of competitors. And YouTube's a great place to start, in my opinion, in any business, just not real estate. As far as connecting with them, I have a rule, and any YouTuber knows this, to answer every comment that's made, and that allows you to interact. And I also use my community, and I do some polls and ask them questions. One of them was, do you want the real estate agent in the video, or do you want one of those artsy, fancy videos where it's music in the background? So you can get a lot of information as to what they want to see just simply by asking them or polling them.
I love that. I absolutely love that. What was the hardest thing for you getting into YouTube early on and growing your channel? What have been some things or some kind of mountains that you've had to climb over, whether they be barriers or roadblocks or however you want to explain them? What have been some things that have kind of held you back, but you figured out and persevered?
Initially, it was editing the video, which was almost impossible to do, even, buying a computer for nothing but video. But that, thankfully, to different companies now, editing videos a little easier. You get caught up in the technology thing, and initially we bought prosumer stuff, and it was just too big, too bulky, took too long to set up. So we went out and bought some Sony Handycams, turned them on, hit record, and away we went. Biggest challenge initially, and even today, was getting into analysis paralysis. And whether you're shooting a property or you're on the screen or it's a commentary or you're answering a question, you get into this loop of logic or illogic. In my case, it also has to be ties into the realtor code and laws and everything else. So I can't say things on video that I shouldn't be saying. So I have to be concerned about that. But I find that the best thing to do is just shoot the video and not worry about people watching you, which is the biggest fear of anyone doing YouTube. People are watching you every day, but for some reason you put a camera in front of somebody and they're a different person. In closing, I'd say you don't need, a $75,000 video camera and high-end studio equipment. Just an iPhone or whatever you're using. The emphasis is on the audio almost more than the video. As long as you got good audio and decent video, and you've got a topic that people are interested in, people will watch that video. They'll watch a lousy video or a lousy produced video more times than a professional one that doesn't answer their questions or they have no interest in.
I want to ask you're now upwards of, over 1,100, almost 1,200 videos on your channel. What has been the biggest thing for you as far as consistency? Because most folks tell me all the time, well, of course you're consistent, or of course person A or B is consistent. They've got 1 million subscribers, they get thousands of views a day. What has made you be so consistent over such a long period of time and so many videos?
I'm not sure how I would answer that. I mean, I'd like to be a lot more consistent, and I'd like to follow the rules like you do with your podcast. It comes out at a certain time, certain day, and I don't do that. I'll have like 3 or 4 videos, boom, in 1 week, and then none for 2 weeks. But I try to consistently get video out there. One of the things that does help me is I do have a number of professional videographers that shoot for me. So that's very helpful and saves me a lot of time because I don't have to spend 8 hours making a video, and I can just text the videographer and get that done. So that would provide content as well. So if you do have access to third parties to do videos, if that's the business you're in, that would certainly be helpful as well. And in an ideal world, and what I should be doing is scheduling these videos consistently, which I don't do. I mean, I do a lot wrong, but that's one of them.
I want to ask you too, the process of creating one of these videos. Some of these videos, you title them like A Drive Down to Waterfront or Waterview Lane, Prince Edward Island Waterfront Real Estate. So you're obviously not only, have informational videos about different things going on in the real estate market, but you also do overviews of different properties and lots and things like that. So talk about your process of making a video. What tools do you use? How do you do it, and kind of the start to finish process?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And a lot of the videos on my channel, other than the normal ones, are me just playing because I'm a techie. So when we get a new DJI action cam or a new drone or a new Sony A7S III, I mean, you want to go out and play with it. But the playing allows us to know what people are really looking for. And some of those videos that I consider kind of silly, people love them. I mean, just driving down a street in a downtown location with no audio other than the surroundings, people that used to live here just love that stuff. So then you use tools like TubeBuddy, and, and again, in an ideal world, you'd be on top of those stats all the time to find out what's working and what's not. And of course, there's all kinds of training out there for running a YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, there really is. There's so many options out there for a person just getting started. I want to talk about monetization for a second. You obviously, because of your business, you're bringing in clientele. And so as far as like correlating one-to-one, as far as how much money YouTube's actually bringing you, I'm sure you've done the math and you have spreadsheets and things that you do to kind of try to get an estimate, but you don't know exactly. But can you talk about the monetization strategy that you have on YouTube now, as far as are there things that you do now that you didn't do early on that help you bring more clientele in? Are you getting ad revenue? Do you have partnerships? Talk about the monetization on your channel up to this point.
Yeah, so basically I don't run the channel to receive money from YouTube or Google.
Right.
I'm way too niche, and that's my constant struggle is, well, do I start getting into these broader videos that cater to planet Earth, rather than catering to videos in Canada's smallest province of 157,000 that no one's ever heard of. But the people that go to my channel, I know there's a 90% chance they're probably going to end up here. So the only way to bring the monetization up on your YouTube channel, obviously there's the obvious ways, hooking up to Amazon and whoever else, but you do have to de-niche. And what I mean by that is, if you had a channel that was just on 2021 Corvettes, you're going to get a lot less reviews than a channel that's on cars. So I am so niche that it's not really possible to increase the monetization from the channel unless I de-niche it. As far as money that comes from the channel, I basically can't handle all the traffic that comes from it, and I refer it out. You would be familiar with that in real estate, and then get paid referral fees for sending out the buyer and seller leads that I can't handle because I'm only one person.
Yeah, the referrals, how are you tracking that? Like, as a business, if there's a doctor or a dentist or a laborer listening to this podcast, how are you, I know you can't do it exactly, but other than just being like, did you come from my YouTube channel? Are there other ways that you're figuring out through conversation, or how are you figuring out where they're coming from?
Primarily, I'm a listing agent, so I don't work with a lot of buyers. So as a listing agent, I have a whole intake form. And the first question on that form is, why did you call me? And then we find out with that information, now we know where to pour our money into, which brings me to another point. A lot of the agents or brokers, they have no views, and they have no views because they don't market their channel. We do a lot of marketing just specifically for the channel.
And when you say marketing, can you talk about the types of marketing that you're doing for the channel?
Oh, absolutely. So the first thing is we connect the video to the listing on realtor.com in the States, realtor.ca in Canada. Sorry, just about pulled my microphone out.
That's okay.
And then we push it with Google Ads. And Google Ads, we figured out that we run two sets of ads. One set of ads is the entire country, and that puts the views through the roof. And then we run another set of ads that rotates the current ads just in the province. So we found that really does a great job, and that's why we're able to get 10,000 views in just a few short days, where you see other real estate agent videos that are sitting on there for 8 months and they have 120 views.
Yeah, being able to market your content and know where to put it, as knowing is a lot about knowing your niche. With the real estate market in general, what are other agents talking to you about? Are they picking your brain? Do they treat you like a redheaded stepchild? Like, what is this guy doing? Or have we gone beyond that? Are we at the point now where this kind of thing is normalized?
It used to happen a lot in the early days. I used to get calls from agents all over North America, but not so much now because there's just so much information and so many people out there teaching this stuff. But I do feel that the shortage is the marketing of the video, because it's not just Google, it's social media, physical signage, mentions in newspapers and TV and radio ads. And like, there's a lot that goes behind that. And then once you have them hooked, you've got them on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, a mailing list, and they just keep coming back. So when they do the transaction, which for the average person's every 6 to 8 years, they think of you first, because again, you're above all the noise.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I think that as someone in marketing like you are with real estate and doing what you're doing in sales, YouTube is such a wonderful avenue, because it's a free way of putting yourself out there, and you're building your brand video by video, brick by brick, excuse the pun there in the real estate kind of terms. But is that not true? Would you not say you agree with that?
I absolutely agree with that. And the other thing that all the social media people say, and it applies to YouTube as well, is just be yourself and share part of your personal life as well. So you're not just a robot involved in a particular industry. Like, one of my biggest tweets was a picture of my beagle laying in my garden. So just the funniest stuff, but now they can relate to you as a person rather than just a business person in a transaction.
What are some things about you personally, about your personality, the things that you are good at, the things that you maybe not be so good at? What are some things on YouTube that's kind of carried over? Like what have you found out about yourself by doing the whole YouTube journey?
Well, more earlier on, because again, it was a lot of experimenting, but one of my clients in Florida said that, there was always something in every video that made him laugh. Whether it was a comment, I made a comment one that said, slow, I can't remember exactly. It said basically the indication was slow down, there's kids. So I think it said slow kids. So I said on the video, I said, does that mean the kids are slow or they want me to slow down? Well, it went over very well with some, but not others. And then I had drove over a rope in a subdivision, a cottage subdivision. I said, that's, there's an example of a PEI speed bump. But just stuff like that, and try to stay away from, obviously, politics and religion, which is never good.
Yeah, I learned that early on in podcasting, for sure, when I got a bunch of angry emails about folks who disagreed with my opinion, not necessarily on politics or religion, but man, when you put your opinions out there, whether it be YouTube, podcasting, media, expect to get the trolls, expect to get the people coming at you and only thinking that their way or their viewpoint is correct. That's just the nature of the game. All right, so for you in this channel, you've been doing this now for a while. What are you looking to do in the future, like short-term and long-term for the channel? Like, what are your goals? What are your aspirations?
No, that's a great question. And I think where my channel falls short, and I underestimated a part of a YouTube channel, is the power of thumbnails. I mean, I've always been an SEO guy with the tags and all that sort of stuff that TubeBuddy helps you with, and other software. Keywords Anywhere is another interesting piece of software. But thumbnails is something I really need to get someone to do professionally. And I know you've mentioned particular companies. I think that in itself will dramatically increase the volume to my traffic, because I don't even bother with thumbnails. It's just a picture or whatever. Who cares? Because again, it's just, for me, it's just time. Like, there's only so many hours in a day.
Yeah, so you've kind of learned where to allot your time. Whereas thumbnails may be important for another channel, for you found that for your type of business and channel, that's not where you need to allocate that time.
My allocation should be hiring a company to do my thumbnails, and it's on my to-do list. So that's how that's going to be done. And again, don't aim for perfection.
Right.
They just want the information. If you spend way too much time shooting 50 different versions of a shot, and then it gets into edit. Now, edit's a nightmare. And then people will get into all these titles and stuff's all over the screen and arrows and sound effects. The next edit's going to be just as difficult. So sometimes, most of my videos, the most important thing I've discovered as a video maker is you shoot to edit. So when I shoot, I'm thinking of putting this on a timeline, because if I don't, it, quadruples the amount of time I have to spend wondering, where am I going to fit this shot? What about this random shot? Especially with drones, because, where do you start?
Yeah, that's a good point. You're exactly right on that. Knowing where to start, knowing kind of what will work for you. And I think that what you're saying is, it's not that thumbnails are not important. You've just got to know how much time you have. You've got to know, where you are personally and professionally, and what is going to move the needle for you. And understanding that going into it on a YouTube channel is critical. I want to ask you this. I made a note of this. A couple of my friends that are in the real estate market on YouTube have found a lot of success with live streaming and doing Q&As and things like that. Is that ever something that you want to do, or have you dabbled in that?
We're all set up for that. We do have the studio set up and the microphones and all that sort of stuff, but we just never done it because we just get into analysis paralysis. So to answer your question, no. But I think it's an awesome idea.
Yeah, I think that what they've said is that with the live streams, it again is just another way to build that community up, to form the relationships with those people. And when you're asking when you're answering questions about your niche and your space, it only just doubles down what you're trying to do in growing your audience. And so I was just curious. I think that if you're listening to this and you are someone who runs a business and you're not in this for the views and the subscribers, but you're in this more for the getting clientele and reaching the market of your choice or whatever your space is, I think that a live stream schedule, whether it be once a week or twice a month or whatever you want to do, is a great way. People ask me all the time, what's a good way to build a community on YouTube? Well, I think that's a wonderful way of doing so. So I could not agree more. Last question I'm going to ask you before we go into the close here, Michael, is what is something that you know now that you wish you would have known sooner in regards to your YouTube channel?
I looked at that question when you sent it to me, and it's such a difficult question to answer. It's basically what I've said all along. Don't worry about the equipment. Don't overanalyze things. Outsource your thumbnails, your video editing, your even operating the camera if you can. Be a part of the video. That's really, really important to be a part of the video. A consumer would rather watch a 3-minute video on a car explaining how much horsepower it is and tires and engine and interior than look at a video that's just playing a song in the background for 3 minutes. They want information that is conducive to their goals, to what they want to do. For instance, the dentist could have a YouTube channel explaining what he does when restructuring whatever, right?
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. So I think that listening to this, you have been such a great guest. It's so fun having different people on. I don't always want to have guests on that are, vloggers or gaming, channels on YouTube. I want to have business people on as well to talk about the things that you have talked about. And so a bonus question here, I know I said that was the last question, but a bonus question here for you, Michael, is this. For businesses, external businesses out there, what are some tips that you can give them in regards to trying to grow a media brand, whether it be on YouTube or other outlets on the internet? Because so many people are in the old school thinking of, pen and paper, or, they're really afraid to dip their toe into YouTube because of whatever the reason may be. Maybe they're scared of the camera, like you mentioned at the top of the show. What would be some tips and pointers you would give them going out here?
I think you need to look at the stats and what people are looking for with programs like Keywords Anywhere. You can type in something, it'll tell you what people are looking for. One of the things I did is a number of videos that were common searches, which here, strangely enough, was what is the population, the weather, immigration, like stuff I never really thought about. Apparently people are looking for the weather all the time. But I think in the case of just hypothetically picking a dentist, someone looks for a dentist, they're just a bunch of names. But if that dentist was to take popular questions that were asked every day, number one, he wouldn't have to repeat his answer 50,000 times, which is what I do with videos. If I get the same question over and over and over, I make a video. But the other thing is when someone types in, they're looking for a dentist in Atlanta, they're far more they're likely to click on a video with a doctor explaining things and portraying himself as a professional that has the answers than just clicking on some website.
I could not agree more. Again, it goes back to, I talk all the time, Michael, about this podcast and how people have told me that they've listened to almost every episode. And I'm over 350 episodes, or over 300 episodes in now. I cannot overstate the amount of people who have told me that and the relationship that they've built with me, and I've never spoken to them one-on-one. They're listening to me on their walks, on their jogs, while they're doing chores around the house. The same goes for YouTube. You build that familiarity, whether you're a doctor, a dentist, a laborer, a construction owner, whatever it may be. Doing these things puts you in front of their mind, and there's no better marketing. And if you didn't hear Michael say this early on in the show, he said he's having to turn people away in terms of like referring them out because he cannot handle all the business. That's the amount of activity he's getting. So do you have any final words before we close out today, Michael?
Just one. Do not underestimate the length of video or the podcasts. I think people, in my opinion, would far rather listen to a half an hour podcast than one that's 3.5 hours long. I listen to all your podcasts when I'm walking, and it's a great time, 30 minutes. You can usually get a show or two in. But I find some of the podcasters, they just have this unlimited run. And when you go back to watch one of the podcasts, you see it's an hour and 40 minutes, and that's no exaggeration. You're far less likely to listen to that than one of yours, which is typically under 30 minutes.
Right. Finding what works for your audience. I found the bite-sized 30 to 40-minute shows on podcasts work. I found for videos, like on my channel, if I'm giving just a tip, I try to keep it under 3 minutes. If I'm doing a full-fledged guide on a bit of software, it doesn't matter. I don't have any cap because folks there, they can go to the chapters and get to where they need to get to, and the more info I give there works better. So understanding what format to use for your channel or for your podcast or for your blog, whatever it may be, that is critical. So, Michael, thank you so much for agreeing to come on the show today. You had so much great information. I hope for nothing but more continued success for you, my friend. And can you let my audience know where they can get in touch with you?
Yeah, no, absolutely. My main website is michaelshomes.com, and my YouTube channel is just youtube.com/my name, Michael, Pocznynek. Or you just type in Prince Edward Island Real Estate. I should come up.
And all of that will be in the show notes. Thank you so much again, my friend, and we'll chat with you next time.
My pleasure, Dusty. Have a great day. All the best of success to you.
You've been listening to the YouTube Creators Podcast. We want to thank you and invite you to subscribe to the show, as well as support us on Patreon for great perks, such as having your YouTube channel featured on the show and a link on our website. Until next time, keep uploading those videos.